Hi guys, I'm really excited to be here on Search with Sean. Thank you very much, Sean. So I'm going to be here to talk to you today about SEO and user intent content strategy for the modern search journey. So let's get started. Firstly, hi guys, I'm Amanda. I'm the director and owner of Cedarwood Digital, which is a marketing agency based in Manchester. We specialise in SEO, digital PR and paid search. I've got over 15 years experience in this space, nearly 20 years now. I used to be a print and TV journalist, and I absolutely love to travel in my spare time, particularly to Asia, which is where I grew up. But enough about me, let's get started. We're here to talk about user intent. But first and foremost, let's define what user intent actually is. So user intent is the purpose or goal behind a user's search query. So it's the reason why someone types a specific phrase into a search engine, reflecting what they're hoping to accomplish or learn. So in SEO, understanding user intent is essential because it helps to ensure that the content we create matches the content that users are looking for. And whether that's for an information, whether it's navigating to a particular website, making a purchase, or comparing products and services before making a decision. Now there's 4 different types of intent. The first one is informational intent. And this is where users are seeking specific information or answer to a question that could be something like how to bake a cake, what is SEO, what's the weather like today. And the content types that we often see here with things like blog posts, how-to guides, FAQs and educational visitors. And the goal really is to educate or inform users about a topic without any direct commercial agenda. The second is navigational intent. So navigational intent is where someone's wanting to go somewhere that could be to a specific website or a specific page. An example would be things like a Facebook login, YouTube, maybe ChatGPT, a homepage, a login page, brand-specific landing page. And the goal here of this intent is to get users as quickly as possible to the page that they're looking for. The third is transactional intent. So the purpose of transactional intent is really when a user is ready to go ahead and make a purchase or transaction, such as signing up or downloading. Like an example of this would be to buy an iPhone 13, to do a Netflix subscription, download the Zoom app, etc. Content could be product pages, landing pages, it could be sign-up forms, it could even be a checkout if they're further down the funnel. And the goal here is really to provide that seamless experience for users ready to convert, whether by purchasing, signing up, or downloading. And the final element of intent is commercial intent, or what we call commercial investigation. Now this is where the user is considering the purchase, but they want to compare these options and read reviews before they actually decide. So examples of this would be things like best laptops of 2024, iPhone versus Samsung Galaxy, top SEO tools, content types, things like comparison articles, review pages, buying guides and product roundups. And the goal here is to actually help a user make an informed decision by providing those comparisons and reviews. So realistically, this follows on from the transactional intent. So someone is looking to make a purchase, but before they make that purchase, they're actually asking the question, oh, hang on a minute, do I want to read some reviews just to back up that I'm making the right decision? Or do I want to shop around a bit to ensure that this isn't the only product that I'm looking for? And the question is, a lot of people say, well, why do you really care? Like, why do you care about user intent? And as SEOs, there are a lot of things that we care about, but realistically, user intent is right up there at the top of the list. And there's a number of reasons for that. So first off, it impacts relevance. So relevance is a really big buzzword right now, but we should care about user intent because by understanding it, we're providing a really good and relevant user experience for our customers. And it's important because if they find something that's relevant to them, they're more likely to go on and convert. It increases click-through rate. So there's a lot of debate over the role that click-through rate plays in SEO performance, and there's also a lot of indication that it plays a key role. After all, a strong CTR would determine that the web result is likely relevant to what the user wants, and therefore would increase the relevancy and driving it higher. So realistically, by providing something that is more relevant to the user, we're helping to increase the click-through rate as well. It improves conversion rate. And for transactional and commercial intent, matching user intent can actually lead to more conversions because it means that users are able to find exactly what they need to make a purchase or take action. If they find that content that aligns with their buying or research phase as well, they're more likely to trust the site, and that will lead to a higher conversion rate and potentially greater revenue. And finally, it aligns with EEAT, so that acronym that we hear all the time in the SEO space. So what it means by that is it basically hits that experience, expertise, authority and trust. It meets user expectations by creating content that aligns with user needs and provides a satisfying experience. As it's high intent, the relevant content has a high intent focus and therefore it reduces friction in the user experience. The content tends to be more in-depth, so it demonstrates expertise. It addresses specific niche audiences, so it kind of boosts authority from that perspective as well. And it answers user questions to kind of showcase all of those trust signals. And also it's intent-aligned content, so that's naturally a trust signal. But more than that, we know that algorithms over time, and Google loves an algorithm, have always considered and included user intent. And these are just a couple from the last few years where user intent has been an important point. So the first one starts back in 2011 with Panda. So the Panda algorithm aimed to reduce the visibility of low quality, thin or spammy content. And this essentially focused on content quality to provide users with pages that were likely to meet their informational, transactional and navigational needs. So that again is a big user intent point there within one of the very earliest algorithms, the Panda algorithm. Then we had Hummingbird in 2013, and Hummingbird was really a major shift in how Google understood the meaning behind queries rather than just matching keywords. So this is where we started to hear a lot about the concept of semantic search and how Google could interpret user intent more accurately. Now, Hummingbird was designed so that Google could deliver more relevant results by understanding the broader context of queries, even if exact keywords weren't present on the page. So again, from a user intent perspective, this is looking at the semantic themes on the page that are helping to match what the user is looking for. We then move on to RankBrain in 2015, and this really started to boost contextual relevance. So RankBrain is Google's machine learning based algorithm, and this was designed to kind of better understand the nuances of user intent by being able to interpret unfamiliar or complex queries. It helped Google to grasp things that were ambiguous or conversational search phrases, really refining its ability to present the most contextually relevant pages, again without the exact keyword matches. So again, user intent had a big boost here in terms of being able to drive contextual relevance. We then had BERT in 2019, which was very much about improving natural language understanding. So BERT stands for bi-directional encoder representations from transformers. Yeah, it's quite a mouthful. But essentially it enabled Google to interpret queries more naturally by understanding the relationships between words and their context. Again, it enabled Google to interpret things like conversational search phrases, making it easier to match the content with truly addresses their intent. In 2021, we had Core Web Vitals. And again, this was more of an on-site factor. So it was looking at things like page experience, load speed, interactivity, visual stability. But again, these all directly impact the user experience and also the intent of someone, especially from a transactional nature. If they're ready to purchase and they're encountering these user experience issues on the site, that's definitely a barrier to conversion. And also in 2021, we had the multimodal search with MUM, which is the multitask unified model. Again, quite a mouthful. So this was designed to understand information across various formats. So this just took a step further from just understanding the contextual and relationship of text, but looks at things like images and video to deliver more nuanced results. So this allowed Google to really meet user extent in a more richer way and more diverse way, because it also incorporated things like images and video and a more sort of multiple perspectives and formats to fully satisfy the user's need. And there's nothing more frustrating from a user intent perspective than being communicated to in the wrong way. It costs you customers. I actually really love this meme. I understand it's not quite relevant, but I think it demonstrates that in a lot of cases, even if you repeatedly try and contact someone, if you're contacting someone the wrong way, it's frustrating for both your team and the end user. So it really highlights that in addition to the fact we've got all these Google algorithms that are focusing on user intent, it's also got a big play from the user perspective. And there's many other reasons why it's important. So it's important for Google. So Google is a business too. And albeit it's a business with a 93% market share, but we've all seen what can happen if you don't keep up with what users are looking for. So if Google doesn't start providing users with an answer to their questions, then there's definitely the potential that people could go elsewhere. And even with a large market share, failing to adapt or deliver can lead to issues within a market, as we saw unfortunately with Blockbuster Video. The data also backs it up, and data shows that companies use actually user intent data to drive a higher conversion rate. More than that, particularly in the B2B space, the majority of companies invest heavily in intent data. In 2022, a report by Demand Space found that 17% of B2B professionals improved their lead conversion rate by 30% by using intent data directly. So now that we know what the value of intent data is, How do we incorporate user intent into our content strategy for the modern search journey? Well, first we need to understand what that modern search journey actually looks like, and it's definitely changed over time. So let's go back to what the search journey used to look like. So the search journey used to be quite linear. So it had kind of an initial search journey following a pretty direct pattern, focusing on single interactions, and then there was essentially a sale. Awareness, consideration, conversion, very straightforward, very linear, very clean. But it doesn't really look like that today. In addition to that linear search journey, we have all these other elements that go into it. So things like multi-channel, so we've got a lot more channels and a lot more different channels where users are starting a search, whether it be Google or Amazon or TikTok, there's a lot more options out there. We have a more user-centric approach where the focus is shifted towards understanding user behavior across various touch points. So that could be voice search, a mobile phone, a desktop, an iPad, whatever the case might be. We have more complexity in interactions. So search journeys are more intricate than they've been. They involve diverse and simultaneous interactions now. We've got much more data to work with, so people are starting to see the value of data and they're integrating that a lot more, which results in things like personalisation within the search results. And then we also have the introduction of feedback loops. So real-time feedback mechanisms are improved with the relevance of search outcomes. So we have an almost continually moving plate when it comes to real-time search results. So the modern search journey is very, very different to what it used to be, and when we're creating content for it, we need to keep this in mind. And there's a number of reasons for this. So mobile usage has played a really big part as a lot of people switch to mobile in their user journey. Voice search plays an important role. Again, people have a completely different intent when they're searching for something through voice search, so that needs to be recognized. Personalization, a lot of people are looking towards personalization as something that's moving very fast. I've spoken at a number of conferences this year where personalization has literally been one of the biggest topics. A lot of people are talking about how we can do it to better improve user intent and user experience on sites. Device type, so in addition to mobile usage, there's a lot of different mobiles out there, different sizes, different shapes, tablet devices, a whole host of options out there, so making sure we're delivering a good user intent experience for each device. And finally, real-time needs. So user behaviours change, but as users we are quite impatient. And a big part of this is ensuring that we're giving people stuff when they need it. Because if they don't get it straight away, then often they can get impatient and they can leave. So with all of that in mind, how do we actually go about aligning our content strategy with user intent? Well, first off, we need to understand which type of content we need to provide to match that user intent. And there's essentially 3 C's of content, let's say. So the first one is content type. This is the dominant type of content that we're seeing in the search results. This could be things like product page, category page, landing page, blog post, video, etc. So it's that type that's most popular. The second is format. So that's the format of the top ranking pages. So typically content format would apply to blog posts, and it can come in formats like how-to guides, step-by-step tutorials, list posts, opinion pieces, etc. And finally is the content angle. So this is the specific focus or unique selling point that makes the page stand out, what users find valuable when they make a particular search. So let's look at that in a real-time example. So let's say it's coming up to tax return time, and to be honest, we're not that far away. If we're looking for information on filling out a tax return, then chances are we want content that is produced by an expert in accounting. Conversely, if we're actually shopping for tax preparation software, then chances are we actually want a forum discussion or a review. In this instance, in the first instance, we're looking for expertise, but in the second instance, we're really looking for experience. And Google backs this up quite a lot. And it says within the quality rating guidelines, if the purpose of the page is to give information or offer advice, then a high level of expertise may be required for the page to be trustworthy. Sometimes pages on why and whale topics in particular are created to share personal experiences, often regarding difficult life challenges. People turn to each other in times of need to share their own experience, seek comfort or inspiration. Factual information from experts may not satisfy this need. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's lots of different formats that we need at different times. So we've talked about filling out tax forms, but let's look at some other examples. Sleep challenges when pregnant. So if you're looking for an expertise-led approach to this, you may very well be looking for sleep medications that are safe during pregnancy. And if that is the case, then you will definitely want to go onto a medical website and you want to ensure that that information you're getting is as accurate and trustworthy as possible. But sometimes you might not want to go with a medicated approach. In fact, you might just want some tips and tricks for sleeping the last trimester of pregnancy from people who've actually been there. So someone who's actually been there, they've tried it, they've tested it, and they've come out with a great idea. So in that case, you might want experience. The first step here is to understand a user who is making this search query. What are they looking for? Are they looking for the medical-backed, expertise-led side of things, or are they looking for that personal experience or something that they can relate to directly? And there's a number of examples here that you can have a look at. But user intent doesn't always stay the same. Sometimes it changes, and in some cases it can change quite dramatically, so we need to make sure that we stay ahead of the curve. A great example of where user intent has changed recently is on the search term of payday loans. So this is obviously a very, very competitive term. And if we compare the payday loans search result for 4th of April 2024 to the previous year of 2023, we can see with a similarity score of just 17, there has been significant changes, 15 changes in fact, in the top 10. And it looks something like this. It's pretty chaotic. There's a lot going on there. And we see there's been wholesale change across the SERPs. In fact, none of the results that we're ranking are ranking now. And this can happen in any industry, and it shows how intent can evolve over time. So even though you may have identified your user intent to start off with, it could be that a year or 2 years later, this intent has actually changed. So we need to be making sure that we're constantly reviewing and refreshing the intent that our users have. I used Ahrefs intent tool to have a look and kind of understand what's happened here, and we can see quite clearly that the intent of the top ranking pages has changed. So back in April 2023, it was people searching for payday loans, looking for financial assistance to meet an immediate need. And we can see this reflected immediately in the page titles, things like payday loans, straight through the page titles, very, very clear what's going on there. But then we can actually see in 2024, the intent has changed to short-term loan options. And rather than looking directly for payday loans, it's now people exploring options as an alternative to traditional loans. And we can see this reflected in the title tags as well, where these title tags now are more focused around short-term loan options and less focused around the payday loans term. So the key takeaway of this is stay relevant with your user intent. But we also need to understand that user intent isn't something that happens over a long period of time. Sometimes we can have a micro moment, and micro moments are becoming even more common in modern society. This is where user intent can have a real commercial impact for your business, and they generally fall into 4 categories. So there are want to know moments, where someone is looking for something and they want the answer to it straight away. I want to go moments, where someone is looking for maybe a local business or they're shopping locally. I want to do moments, where someone wants to know how to do something or they want help getting something done. And I want to buy moments, and that's when someone is ready to make a purchase. And when we're talking about user intent, we don't just want to target people who are in a longer conversion journey. We also want to make sure that our content targets people that are right in these micro moments. So how do we incorporate micro moments into our content strategy? Well, firstly, we need to be quick. So we need to make sure that users have an immediate answer to the needs that they have. Fast loading pages, easy navigable content, clear calls to action, etc. We need to be useful. So when users are seeking specific actionable information, we need to put it in front of them in a logical order that makes sense. And we need to connect the dots. So users rarely move in a straight line. Connect related content and resources and or support follow-up questions and further exploration. By guiding users to this related content, we can help keep them on site, support the multi-step journey. You can use internal linking for this as well if you need. And consider the context. Users can be in different environments in these micro moments. They could be on the go, they could be on mobile, they could be on voice search. Consider this and tailor format and design accordingly. This meets users where they are, make it easier for them, and align with Google's focus on user experience to build this out. So when we're thinking about user intent, we don't obviously just want to think about content format and micro moments. The core really comes down to performing that keyword research with user intent in mind. Include it in your keyword research to ensure the content type that you're producing for the website and what's written in it keeps user intent at top of mind. So this starts in the very beginning of the keyword research phase, by highlighting initially the primary intent and then any secondary intents. And I've used some examples here of keyword research pieces that we do here at Cedarwood, and the way that we include the intent within these keyword research pieces. And this not only helps us to evaluate the content style that we're doing, but also to brief in our content writers of any specific intents. And we can also identify any trends, which is super helpful for creating things like keyword clusters and also improving the website's internal linking. If you aren't sure where to start getting the intent data, then you can use tools like Ahrefs to help with this. They have a handy intents guide, which we find really helpful. And you can also export this information into tools like Excel to make it more digestible. Once you've got this information, you can go ahead and create your content brief. Whenever we create a content brief, we always clearly highlight what the user intent is, and this could be both the primary and secondary user intent. And this helps to ensure that our copywriters have a clear understanding of the content format and what they're trying to achieve through it. It supports the rest of the brief, but it ensures that we're always thinking about it. And the types of content that you can create off the back of this: blog content, guides, how-to guides, informational guides, or just any descriptions or any product descriptions that you've got. All of this can be briefed through this content, this kind of content briefing structure, but it's important to make sure that we've got user intent in mind. Sometimes you also won't just need one type of format. There might be multiple formats that you look at. In this example from the Select Car Leasing page, showcases a different variety of content types. So just as we have primary and secondary intent types, we can also have primary and secondary content types. So in this instance, we can see that they've chosen to go with both a guide and a review style piece of content, matching different types of content types to really kind of boost the overall EAT. And they've highlighted that user intent has a need for both of these resources. It's not just the type of content we put together though, it's also the way that it presents. And back in 2021, John Mueller said this quote: "Sometimes those small differences do play a role to how people perceive your website. For example, you have something that's on a financial topic and people say, well, your information is okay, but it's presented in a way that looks amateurish, then it could reflect how your website is perceived. And in the long run could reflect something that is visible in search as well." So when we're building out user intent, we're not just talking about the content itself, but also the way the content is presented. When a user lands on your page, is it matching their intent from a stylistic perspective as well as a factual perspective? Things to look for here: spelling and stylistic errors. Is it been sloppily or hastily produced? Does it display well on mobile? And also, does the website function properly? And you also want to think about the way that people actually digest that information. And Chloe Ivy Rose put together this really great whiteboard Friday, which I've used in a couple of my talks now, but I just really love this piece. And it talks about the different reading patterns for content optimization. So when you're matching user intent, are your users reading as an F pattern? Are they reading as a layer cake? Or are they kind of spotting across the page to pick out key information? Understanding this about your user intent and the way you can put your content together off the back of it will also help to make sure that you're matching that accurately. And if you go to all of the effort to match your user intent, it's really important that it's easy for Google to understand that. There's a number of ways that you can do that. So optimizing headings, make sure they're meeting the user's need. Definitions and questions are a popular way to start the page. Meta tags, ensuring that your meta tags are optimized both on page and also from a click-through perspective. A schema, ensuring that your schema is optimized to help Google understand what the website is about. Things like page structure, so make sure it's sensical and has an easy navigation. Readability, make sure it's easy to read and follows users' reading patterns. And integrate FAQs where possible to ensure that all questions are answered and you keep users in the funnel. Mark these up accordingly. And most importantly, make sure that you test and learn. Sometimes it won't be immediately apparent what the right intent is for your strategy, but you can definitely test it. One tool that we use quite a lot to test our user intent and content changes is Ahrefs Content Change tool. It's just an example of one. There's plenty that you can use to test. And essentially what this does is allows you to overlay your organic traffic with any content changes that you've made, so you can kind of pull out and identify where any changes on the page might have changed the interaction site on your website. You can actually deep dive a little bit further into this, where you can see specifically the content on the pages and understand where those specific changes have been made. Is it a wholesale change, or is it just a small change to that content accordingly? And if you want to see this in a more holistic view, then you can go into the Ahrefs menu itself, and you can actually have a look at the content changes section across all the pages. And it'll tell you if it's been like an overhaul, minor, moderate, so you can really start to understand the impact that's had, and maybe where you've got a good user intent match or potentially a user intent mismatch. It's a really effective way to map it over time, and also if you're making changes through a content strategy, this is a great way to set a good foundation. So my closing point is, user intent plays a key role in getting a user to where they need to be. By helping to create websites which effectively answer and match user intent, we're not only delivering a better user experience, but a better experience for Google and SEO, improving conversion rate and delivering our content to the right audience at the right time. Thank you. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Search with Sean conference.